In a resurfaced audio from a call with governors in 2020, then President Donald Trump is heard praising Governor Walz's response to the George Floyd protests in his state. I want to play a clip and come back.
I know Governor Walz is on the phone and we spoke, and I fully agree with the way he handled it the last couple of days. I asked him to do that. Get a lot of men. We have all the men and women that you need. But people aren't calling them up. You have to dominate. If you don't dominate, you're wasting your time. They're going to run over you.
For some thoughts on that, I want to bring in CBS News campaign reporter Jake Rosen in Washington. Jake, how does this audio contradict with what we have been hearing more recently from Trump and his campaign about Walz's response in 2020 to the protests? And do you think this audio could cause any problems for the former president?
Well, we'll have to see about what happens with the fallout of this audio. In that same call, the Trump campaign pointed out to me that Governor Walz does compliment Secretary Esper, who was Trump's defense secretary at the time, and Donald Trump for their support. So they see it as both men complimenting each other on one of those daily COVID briefings that the governors had with Donald Trump while he was president in 2020. But you know, when we think about how the Trump campaign has attacked Tim Walz so far in the first 48 hours or so since the news broke of his selection, the Black Lives Matter and fallout of the George Floyd murder protests in Minnesota are one of the key things that they've tried to focus on, saying he watched his city, Minneapolis and St. Paul, burn to the ground. He was late on deploying the troops. And while this tape certainly provides one instance, the general consensus is that Walz was hesitant to send in the National Guard in the first place, despite this conversation. So we'll have to see, but it's certainly one definite point of research that the campaign has tried to seize on in the last 48 hours.
And Jake, talking about campaign events before, Trump is also expected to hold a press conference in Florida. What do we expect from that?
Well, this comes as J.D. Vance and Donald Trump both have been attacking Vice President Harris for not holding a press conference since she was named the top of the ticket and after President Biden stepped off of it. Now, we've kind of seen Harris hit the trail, like you just spoke with Nancy about, but she has not made herself available in a formal press conference setting, which is something that J.D. Vance called out yesterday as he walked over to Air Force Two when both planes were on the ground at the same time, saying he wanted to speak to the White House press corps who might be bored, and he wanted to make sure that they press her to answer questions. And this is Donald Trump taking advantage of kind of that void between the two people at the top of the ticket. One of them, Donald Trump, will be speaking to media later today to kind of focus the attention back on himself.
And Jake, on the campaign trail recently, Senator Vance has been focusing on Minnesota's governor's Tim Walz's military record. Talk to me about what the strategy is there. What are you seeing that the Trump campaign is doing? And what's the significance of having Vance be the messenger for this? I imagine that Trump should probably not be the one. It could backfire if he attacks him on his record.
Certainly, and we know from when Donald Trump first ran for office, there was a story about him not making himself available to the then draft. J.D. Vance has served in the military. That is a thing that he ran on. It's also a thing that Governor Walz ran on when he was first running for Congress, later governor, obviously, and now as a vice presidential nominee. We've seen J.D. Vance kind of go on the attack against the Democrats in the last couple of days on things like immigration, and certainly this military, whether it's embellishment or just not quite telling the exact truth about his military record, is something that J.D. Vance, as someone who served, can, and the Trump campaign certainly believes this, take on that charge in the media and talking to supporters.
We expect some bone spurs conversations to resurface in the weeks ahead. Jake, thanks so much for joining us.